Okay, welcome. We're here to remember that there are 11 veterans of the War of 1812 buried in La Crosse County. 3 of them are here at Oak Grove. The War of 1812 was a war of miscommunication to begin with and to end with. There were a number of incidents between the British and American forces on land and at sea in 1812, leading to President Madison asking Congress to declare war, which they did June 18th, 1812. These probably could have been ironed out had there been better lines of communication. Well, the British decided they would carve up the United States into 3 pieces. They sent an expeditionary force of 10,000 troops to come in from the north, New York, and head south. The United States had less than 10,000 total federal troops mustered. They sent an expeditionary force into Washington, D.C., burned the White House, but they failed to capture Baltimore, which was their goal. And the United States had less than 10, actually I think it was 20 ships at sea. And they also sent a force to New Orleans to capture the mouth of the Mississippi and they head up that way. Fortunately, the British were also battling Napoleon in Europe, and they defeated him in 1814. And at that time, the desire of the British people to have more troops committed to war and to have to raise more taxes for more expense kind of waned, and the British did a turnaround and decided to make a settlement with these worthless United States, which are hardly more than anything but trees and Indians. And so they did, and the Treaty of Ghent was signed in December of 1814. But of course the Battle of New Orleans took place January of 1815, and we whooped them good. So they went home not victorious, but co-signers on a treaty that ensured peace. Well, many of the boys served in the Army, enlisted for the promise of a land grant to the West. Now you understand land grant means no pay. No pay until the war gets over, and if you survive, then you get some land out here. One of those was Alexander Bryce, for whom Bryce Prairie is named, and he's buried out on Bryce Prairie. Another one is Justin Jacobs. He received a land grant in West Salem, and he's buried out there. In the Oak Grove Cemetery here, we have Warren Hyde, and actually Hyde Avenue in La Crosse is named for his son. Alva Hart is around the first corner over here, and William Zechariah Withy is far in the back. You'll see a big Withy stone. That's not his stone, but he's in that family plot there, we believe. And we recall the others as well, Elijah Bowen, Maltia Collins, Alva Hart, Benjamin Sly, Ezra Hunt, Nathaniel Richardson, William Murray, and Justin Jacobs. And of course, the vagaries of life are more noticeable in retrospect. When we look at what happened to these fellows. William Murray we know very little about because, well, there were 24 William Marys in the United States Army, so we're not sure which one was him. He was a school teacher after the war, and out at Bangor. He was also a village officer in Bangor, and his wife and daughter Elizabeth are buried next to him at Rockland. Poor Nathaniel Richardson is buried in the Fairview Cemetery south of town. He was from Grafton County, New Hampshire, sworn into federal service, but his unit was not sworn into federal service. so he doesn't qualify for a federal mark or stone, but he did serve. Benjamin Sly is buried in the Campbell Cemetery north of town here, and his first wife is buried in the cemetery at Mindoro, but his second wife fell in with a religious group and ran off, so don't know where she is. So we remember these fellows that were mustered into service very quickly. Some of them enlisted twice, served their country out east, and ended up here partly because of land grant and partly because that's the part of the country that was opened up after the War of 1812, the War of Bad Communication. So you picked a lovely day for this. Thanks for coming out, and enjoy your tour.
So they were impressing people as sailors, the British were, and that was one of the first points of contention.
Yes.
And they stopped doing that after they defeated Napoleon, and so they weren't doing that anymore. The battle in Washington, D.C., the rain put out the fires, and they said it was Providence. The Battle of New Orleans, if the British would have won there, it still would have negated part of the Treaty of Ghent, if they would have actually captured it, because they would have had a chokehold on the western part of the country.
Yeah.
And the Americans lost about a dozen, and the British lost hundreds and hundreds, because they flooded the field and they built barricades, and they had a combination of Indians and Frenchmen and everybody fighting the British.
It was quite a different view of the world in Britain versus over here, and those views didn't mesh. Yes?
Well, I just have a question. Was the Battle of New Orleans after the U.S. got the New Orleans, the French territory, and we got kind of in that area, the West? Did we have the Battle of New Orleans? Did we own that area yet?
Jefferson purchased the Louisiana territory,
Purchase,
yeah. And that was what year?
1803.
1803, so the answer is yes.
All right.
What is this right here?
Just to hold the implements with the gun. You understand Flintlock was the latest technology. It fires very well, it's very accurate. The guns were much smaller then, but still quite deadly and could do quite a bit of damage.
And you have to load each bullet one at a time down the shaft.
One at a time, muzzle load, yeah. So things went slower, the battles went slower. But no less deadly.